Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Awakening from the Spell. My name is Vanessa, and I'm so grateful that you're joining me here today. First, I'd just like to share the intent of the series, which is really to create a refuge, an extension of the community that I'm creating at this time to support the awakening that is currently alive and well and very underway on our planet right now. So I hope that you find solace in the insights and perspectives that I offer with you, and that these videos are really to support you in wherever you're at on your journey. So without any further ado, let's get into more of what this video and this series is really about. So basically, this first episode here is really going to be discussing what is the spell, but overall that is going to evolve throughout this series. I feel that it's going to be a continued conversation that we are going to elaborate on together, and I say together because I welcome your perspectives, your unique take on how your life experience has been shaped by what we've all experienced in our own individual ways. So one of the simple ways, or a simple way to say what the spell is, I feel, is to summarize it in saying it's the wrong path, going the wrong way in life, or it really just following a path that doesn't really support who we are, or let alone support others. To me, that is a simply stated way to say, you know, what is this spell is that has kind of been plaguing humanity. And what is important to note with this perspective is to also reclaim a sense of purpose in any of the times we may have traveled in that direction, because God, the universe, you know, can always use these experiences for our greater good and the good of others. So I just want to really offer that to you right now, because I think the bigger picture is that, you know, none of us in these human vessels are perfect. We've all made, you know, what we like to think are mistakes, or things that maybe we aren't so proud of, or regrets. And, you know, and in reality, you know, we're here to experience life, and there's no really greater teacher than the experience itself. So I just want to offer that, because I think sometimes when we are in the process of awakening, we can maybe get really caught up and beat ourselves up of, like, you know, why did I let this happen, or why was I making such, you know, foolish mistakes. And I think, you know, there's really, you know, two things kind of occurring there. You know, one is the fact that there was a negative influence that I'm calling the spell, put, so it was very, we were very susceptible to going the wrong way. And the other is that we had to perhaps go in that direction to really harness other skills and gifts along the way. You know, maybe taking the scenic route is one way to look at it, or the long way, that you can kind of have, you know, other surprises that, you know, you wouldn't have necessarily called into your life if you knew that that was, you know, the way it was going to go. And the other part of this brings up really the bigger part of what is occurring here, is the awakening, or the organic ascension that is happening in connection to the solar system, to the Divine Mother Earth right now. And as we are a part of the universe, we are connected, we were birthed from, you know, or this is what I connect and resonate with anyway, that we came from beyond this earth, but yet we are also divinely connected to it, that we are, you know, here to also ride this ascension with her. Now, I'm going to kind of assume that if you're watching this video and you found my work, that you are on this wavelength, but I guess the reality is that we're not all collectively on that same trajectory, at least not in this lifetime. You know, we're all on different parts of the journey, basically, is how I see it. So that's just going to reflect the different learning curves that we're seeing kind of play out on the world stage. So if ascension is a new concept to you, I feel like the easiest way to grasp that is through looking at it as an awakening. And I really kind of like that I was guided to share Rise and Shine with the Divine Mother Earth. Okay, so basically, you know, it's just interesting that it's really like, you know, when we want to sleep in sometimes and we are not really enjoying the blasts of sun that are coming in through our window, when we want to get some more hours of shut-eye, or we don't like the, you know, alarm, you know, just, you know, beeping its, you know, blasting its annoying tone to get our attention. These are all different ways to kind of look at what is really kind of occurring on our planet, and that, you know, it's going to be a varied experience, and maybe really even depends on the day as far as like, is that going to be a rude awakening, or, you know, it's like, yeah, I'm ready for, you know, whatever the day brings. And but the highest aspect of that is to actually, you know, get to that place where we are like rising and shining, you know, that we do want to get up with gusto and to take on the day. And but, you know, the harsh reality is that, you know, the spell hasn't really made that easy on us. And another, you know, intent with, you know, through this series and my other offerings that I want to help support others is that, you know, we're just constantly almost being, you know, our traumas are being triggered. And on one hand, there's, you know, again, something that can be good that comes out of that, because, you know, ultimately things have to bubble up to be healed. But on the other hand, you know, when people don't realize that that's kind of what's happening, it really just kind of keeps people stuck in a re-traumatization of just like, you know, I guess I'm getting a visual of like a scab that just isn't healing, because, you know, it's just not getting that what it needs to fully heal, and it just keeps getting picked open or something, you know. And that's just, you know, it bothers me to really see that happening, especially to more vulnerable communities of people. And it's just, you know, it's just not right. So anyway, so that is some of also why, you know, it's important for me to like want to offer these perspectives and to really be able to try to hold space for the unique awakening experience that, you know, is a very individual process. So this leads into, you know, so what's the ultimate goal into this spell? Okay, so if you believe that, you know, something isn't quite right, you're suspicious of like what's been really playing out, and, you know, what you've been seeing, you know, so what's the goal of the spell? Why would someone create this to happen? And well, I'm not going to try to answer why someone or a thing would do that. The goal, I feel, is to keep humanity ignorant to the natural evolution of ascension by basically creating a devolution in its place, or multiple devolutions, devolutions. So, you know, this goes into people really just kind of being stuck in a loop of re-traumatization and not being able to get past it, to really be able to see that there's alternatives or a better way to go about things. And when that's like happening, it, you know, like basically, you know, it can be a false timelines or like lower timelines that are, you know, occurring instead of being able to take, you know, to say the high road out of a situation and to really get to that, the next level of where what's best for your soul and your own growth. And so this brings me to bring up, you know, the concept of the matrix. And, you know, you're probably familiar with, you know, maybe those films. And really, you know, they depicted a great display of kind of the spell and seeing beyond the illusion and the artificial reality that was kind of constructed over our divine blueprint and the divine matrix. They've like kind of masked it, made it hard to see, because we think that something else is all that there is. So, you know, I like to kind of refer to this as like the false matrix, the fallen matrix, or the inverted matrix, because basically I feel like the best way to sum it up is like the world got turned upside down. It was, you know, I mean, now I don't mean that in a literal sense, but that's like just the feeling that, you know, it gives me, like, you know, almost everything is reversed, even though on one hand, you know, it doesn't look like that because, you know, it seems normal to what we are used to. And so basically, this is like what, you know, how I see what the fall was, and the fall of consciousness is what really happened well, I mean, there were multiple things that happened, but it was definitely like a fall of consciousness. And on, you know, a metaphysical level, I feel like basically this like weakened the Earth's aura, and in that weakened state, you know, it made the spells and curses easier to take hold because it lowered the vibration of the planet and her people, the life on the planet, and, you know, it brought it down into like a low vibe energy, a lower vibrational state, instead of, you know, a higher vibrational and higher consciousness state. And this basically made not only the Earth vulnerable and susceptible to, you know, these spells and curses, but, you know, basically it was this whole, you know, a binding and bondage of souls, and a trapping in a downward spiral. So, you know, I'll give you a moment to maybe process that, because, you know, I imagine that some of you might be like hearing some of this stuff for the very first time, and, you know, maybe it sounds very outlandish, but on some level, I'm sure you also know that, you know, you've heard these stories, these tales in a variety of ways, and this is just my perspective, taking, you know, from like my own experience and research and guidance, as well as other like really great teachers, and kind of putting my 2 cents into it. So, you know, that's kind of, I guess, you know, maybe at this time, you know, if you think of questions that you would like to, you have about this, you know, feel free to maybe write them in the comments or send me an email, because, you know, as these series grow, maybe I will address your questions. So, you know, it just provides you with some clarity and context. But I'm trying to keep things, you know, that aren't really simple in simple terms. And this is like what I'm being guided to share in this way. So, okay, the spell and the negative force and the negative influence of this fallen consciousness, fallen architecture, hostile architecture can be really seen as something that, basically has us more susceptible to make the wrong choices, and basically eventually even going against our own nature. And it's quite normal and common to then actually betray ourselves, because we're just trying to fit into this fallen world of, and keeping the fallen world happy instead of our own divine nature. And again, what's really important here is that bringing awareness to the fact that these are these two things that are kind of coexisting right now, because we're just kind of traditionally made to think that that's all that there is, and that there isn't something bigger than that, or what really we're more familiar with the artificial influence than, say, the actual real divine influence, because of the fallen architecture and the lower vibrational influences. So basically, another way I feel like that's helpful to look at this is also, when the fall occurred, there was, now again, I'm not sure if this was like literal, but you could think of it as like a fog, a dense, thick layer of fog that basically, had us forget who we really really are, and that it was like there was more separation between us and the divine from this like dense energy and dense heavy fog. And this again made humanity more susceptible to enslavement, and it created an amnesia, and it brought like stagnation and complacency, and basically all these opposites to just like radiating divine life and vibrant life. It created like a lot of distortions and false artificial versions of what we think that life is supposed to be. And then I feel like our good nature also kept a lot of us in, and I say generationally, into more of a submission, like almost beat it into submission to either be passive or reactive, versus standing strong in our divine sovereignty and being divinely empowered to respond to life and our environment, and to, act from a place of, divine strength and dignity, and just standing strong in who we really are. And, this is a very generalization, because clearly people have gone on and done these things, but I'm just sharing what, basically we our collective has, you know, been up against, basically. So the other question that maybe some of you are having right now is like, well, how do they keep us under this spell? And there are like really lots of answers to this question, but to sum it up, you know, currently the plague of mind control, brainwashing, and conditioning is something that's really perpetuating it, and just keeping people like tuned into looking at distractions or looking in the wrong direction instead of maybe what's like right in front of us, or, you know, a better alternative that maybe we're just slightly unfamiliar with because we're more familiar with, you know, the fallen ways of the world. So in a nutshell, that is really what the spell is that I am referring to, and that I'll be elaborating on in this series in like more specific ways. And if you stuck it out through the whole video, I really appreciate it. I hope you found it enlightening and supportive to you in this time, whenever or in the future now moments that you may be watching this. And if you'd like to support my other offerings, you know, or this channel, please, you know, like this video, consider subscribing, and, you know, put on there to get the notifications of when I'll have the next video in this series available for you to watch. And I also have general readings right now that I am offering through my website, and that is freakofnature.org, and that's freak like frequency, FREQUE. I'll have the information in the comment description section below, so you can find out more about me and my offerings there. And if you're watching this video at this current time of June 2022, I am running a savings to save $22 on my offering of these general readings if you order it by the solstice, June 21st. So just wanted to put that out there if you might be interested. But other than that, I thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it and it supports you in your awakening process. And I'll see you in the next video.